does look like, yep, they just got started. Normally, at least in the US and Europe and such, we start timing as soon as you gain control of Mario. It's kind of an artifact of the old Speed Demos archive days. He's going for a pretty precise jump there. Looks like he got it. The ideal time is 370, which he didn't get because of another mistake. He got the jump into the pipe, which is actually the hard one. So figure that one out. It's Mario. Things like that happen. But there are a couple things that you'll want to know. One of them is, of course, the frame rule. The frame rule is just the principle of how often the game checks to see if you've completed a stage or not. And so every 21 frames, I believe it is, it will say, has the stage been completed and all the things that need to be done to go on to the next stage, have they happened? Yes or no? And it'll wait until the next one to check again. So you will progress from level to level in that increment. I also see that he's going for fire strats. There are a couple ways you can do this. Let's see if he goes for small fire or just stays as Fire Mario. Fire Mario is technically the fastest, but it's also a bit risky because if you get hit, you lose fire, you go all the way back down to small Mario, and obviously that's not good. It's also very easy to get hit, especially in some of the later levels, starting in World 5 especially, and so on, going all the way up through especially World 7 and 8. It's quite easy to get hit. And the other two options are to just play small the whole time, which I believe Cosmic D12 is the only one that I know of who really does that strategy still. And also to do what's called small fire Mario, where you get hit and complete the level at the same time. If he's going to do it, it would have been there. So I think I can say pretty confidently that he's just staying big fire. And what would have happened there is he would have timed it so that he hit Bowser, getting hit, and hitting the axe at the same time. The game would have tried to process multiple things at once and would have failed. So he would have been able to pick up 2 more power-ups and become Fire Mario while still small. It gives you the advantages of the smaller hitbox that small Mario has while still having firepower. But like I said, Fire Mario is actually the fastest strategy in this game. At least for Warpless.
One common question that I always get asked is it faster to grab the top or the bottom of the flagpole?
Top, unless you're doing a glitch. The top of the flagpole, when you go down, there's a little bit of space between Mario and the block, and Mario accelerates ever so slightly faster in the air. So that means when he hops off the flagpole, he's immediately off in the air, spends a little more time there, accelerates faster, and gets to the castle ever so slightly faster, sometimes allowing you to save a frame rule. And some of the frame rules are really, really tight. 8.1 and 8.2 in particular are... I think it's just 8.1 that's especially tight. But anyway... technically, this is not the most optimized game because there are games that are so simple you can easily do a frame-perfect run, but let's not get into that. So these cheap cheeps are based on your speed and positioning. You can get through here really consistently. As long as you know the pattern, know the platforms, it's really not that difficult. Another version of this kind of game, Mario Brothers 2, also known as Lost Levels, it gets a lot more complicated, but yeah, it's not as bad here. It's a little worse in the second version of that level. But now getting into 2.4, it's worth mentioning that none of the castles are really incredibly easy. A lot of that is because Bowser's flames are random, and especially if you're on a frame rule that you're not used to, some really crazy stuff can get thrown at you because the frame rule affects random elements like Bowser's fire.
So RNG still has a little bit to play with it. And if I can ask a question, you were talking about the frame differences between top and bottom. If you go on the top of every pole, how much does that actually add or subtract from your frames from your run overall?
I don't remember exactly how many frames it saves each time you do it, but the bottom line is if you save one frame rule, that's like 21 frames saved right there. So that alone is pretty much worth it instantly. But just doing that versus the other stuff it's only a matter of a couple frames. But if you miss a frame roll by only a couple frames, you'd really wish that you hit the top of the pole.
Okay, so it's still enough that you want to do it, especially if you're just starting it and you want to kind of get every little nuance down. It's something that you really want to practice.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And it's not that hard. The retro stairs at the end of most of the levels are not the easiest thing to climb, but with a bit of practice, they're not that bad. They're certainly easier than in the new Super Mario Brothers games, but that's just because of the physics engine. They don't really just differentiate between corners of platforms and the rest of the platform in this game itself. It's kind of like if you're on the platform, you're on the platform.
The only thing I know about the platforms in most Mario games is I like to fall off of them.
Yeah, and hopefully we don't see that happen because it is definitely possible. This is... Oh, it looks like you just got hit by that fire bar. There's a pretty precise jump in order to get through that section easily. Like I said, the castle stages are no joke, but he made it through anyway. We'll see if he tries to pick up power-ups to get firepower again. He lost it pretty early, so I would guess he probably will, but we'll see how he handles it here. Yeah, he already got that mushroom, so it looks like he's going to be getting firepower back. 4-1 is one of the easiest stages in the run, if not the easiest. I think it's the easiest, whatever category you're running. You can jump over the piranha plants like that because hitboxes are jank. That's pretty much how it works. You have a pretty lenient window. It's actually something like 6 or 7 frames. I don't know the exact number, but pretty lenient window to jump completely over the piranha plants. You can also make it so that you land on the pipe, and that's something that you may see him doing later. That is a significantly more difficult technique, but it is also necessary to get over some of the taller pipes with piranha plants in them without slowing down. At least if you don't have firepower. If you have firepower, you can just hit the piranha plant. But if he loses the firepower late in the run, he might not even be able to pick it up again, so he might have to try those or just play it safe.
So it's still early enough for him to kind of repair the whole thing, but later on, it may actually prove to be a detriment if, like, a fireball or fire bar gets hit again.
Oh yeah, this is still on solid pace, despite that hit and having to pick up the 2 power-ups. It's not world record pace or anything. This category is quite optimized. Not as optimized as any percent, of course, but it's still... The top runs are really, really good and hard to beat. But this is still perfectly fine for a marathon run. I would honestly be surprised and really, really impressed if you were able to make it through without getting hit once or even twice.
And yeah, speaking about the optimization of any percent, the optimization of any percent, the top 4 runners are within somewhere between, I thought it was like 5 or 6 frames of each other.
Yeah.
Optimization. It's pretty optimized for any percent.
Yeah, that's of course possible because time ends on the final axe hit, not on the frame rule of being able to move on past that. So you can get 1 or 2 frames difference if you finish 8-1 on the same frame rule, 1 or 2 frames slower or faster than another runner.
And for those who don't know, what is the transition of frames to seconds?
It is just barely under 60 frames per second. Just consider it 60, because those silly decimals like 59.999 something are not really necessary to know unless you're doing video encoding or other much more technical stuff than that.
So the optimization of any percent really boils down to a tenth of a second between 5 or 6 people.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, that's a hard one to crack.
Yeah. What I would say regarding the popularity of the different speed games, 1 and 3 are the most popular, and Lost Levels is probably the least popular, but it's got a pretty decent influx of runners. I know Big John running it and Cosmic picking it up, and some of the other guys who have picked it up have played into that, either playing it on SNES or on the Famicom Disk System version. And Mario 2 US is... honestly, now it might be the least popular speedrun of those 4 games, but there's still people who run it.
Yeah, for me, I think I would have to try speedrunning on a game that wasn't so optimized, just so I could actually have a little bit better opinion of myself.
I don't know. I mean, I started off with a game that's just hell to optimize in Sonic 2, and so I got used to not being optimal pretty quickly. So I wouldn't say you'd have to stick with something that isn't as optimized. If you enjoy the run, enjoy doing it, then you enjoy it, and that's what's most important. But anyway, getting into the latter part of the run here, there are a couple stages in World 6 that are a bit tricky. You can see the Lakitu here. It's not really much of a threat unless it gets slowed down. But in 6.2 and 6.3, it does get a little bit more complicated. In particular, I want to make sure I'm getting this right. I want to say it's 6.2. You just got a firework there. 1 firework is not a big deal. It does not cost any time. 3 or more fireworks do cost time. I'll get to that in a second because this is the level I was talking about. Fortunately for him, he's doing this as Fire Mario. You saw that little technical jump there that he did a second ago to get in that little gap between the bricks and the pipe. It's pretty easy to get caught there and get hit, but he managed not to. If you're doing this as Small Mario, it's significantly more difficult, so it's always impressive when you see someone do it like that. But anyway, back to the fireworks. Those happen in relation to coins and the final digit of your timer when you finish a stage. So you can get 1, 3, or 6, like I said, and you obviously want to avoid anything more than 1, because while 1 doesn't... ooh, that was a really slick dodge, ducking under that bullet bill. Those bullet bills, like I said, are random. They're a random element, and like I said, random elements are dependent on your frame rule. He's been hit here, so it's obviously not his... like the frame rule that he's most used to, so he just had to react to that. In World 6, some tricky jumps through the fire bars in this castle, yeah, it's going to get significantly more difficult starting in World 7 especially. In my opinion, World 7 and World 8 are the 2 most difficult worlds. This game actually has a surprisingly good distribution and difficulty curve if you really get down to it. But you can see there will be more Hammer Brothers. Hammer Brothers also are affected by the RNG, so they control you very easily. There are more bullet bills when they fire, is dependent on various factors, including the frame rule that you're on. So you could have the bullet bills fire at inopportune times. Or you got pretty good patterns there, but there are other levels where it comes into play a little bit more.
I would just like to add that throughout this entire thing, I want to give Mario's Gymnastics an 8.5 from the Oregonian judge.
Okay. The Michigan judge is still deliberating, but World 7-2 is mostly annoying. If you play it right with the Fire Flower, it's pretty smooth, like you're seeing here. It's going well. But the bloopers can... well, there were bloopers back then, but that's splitting hairs. He made it through there just fine. There weren't any really troll placements or movements. So that's really what you hope. He didn't really have to slow down at all. He just blitzed right through it, as far as going fast in an underwater stage goes. Now the cheap placement in this stage is a bit trickier, as well as the platforms. But you can see by doing things like that duck jump there, he's able to get through it just fine anyway. And basically, yeah, that's the other tricky part right there at the end where he did that second duck jump. But looks like a good stage to me.
Alec, if you got 1 second, can you just define warpless for us, please?
Yes, there are warp pipes in certain parts of the game. Also, he's... just interrupt that explanation for a second. He's going a particular path here. If you don't go that correct path, then you repeat the stage endlessly. So that's a... oh, it looks like he just got hit there too. If he plays warpless, or warps as well, any percent, then he'll be fine because he should be used to playing World 8 small. But anyway, yeah, like White Sparks is saying, warpless doesn't use warps. So it's beating every stage in the game. It's kind of a... there is no real 100% category for this game, so it's kind of as close as you're going to get.
Yeah, for me, I would probably just stick with the warps. I like the, ooh, I can go to the 5th world or something, the 4th world, and I can just jump from there. Those make me happy.
I'm not sure exactly what happened there. It could have been a drop jump input, just him missing the jump. He might have also been going for a really precise jump to do a pipe jump there. But let's see how he handles it this time. World 8 is no joke.
Yeah, rip, we got one already. Let's see if... sorry about that. Let's see if he can make it through this time.
Yeah, he's playing it safe. Yeah, it looks like he was going to try to do a pipe jump there to be able to get past those piranha plants quicker. So the second time he just played it safe because, why keep dying repeatedly?
Still, overall, I'd have to say, very good run. What about you?
For a marathon run, this is going quite well so far, so expect him to die because commentators curse. Anyway, 8-2 is another fairly tricky level. There are paratroopers all over. Looks like he's getting a mushroom there. Probably just for safety in the rest of this level and in 8-3. 8-3 has a ton of Hammer Brothers, and you can also see that sort of thing happen. So if he was getting that for 8-3, he wasn't even able to keep it there. But for
oh no.
For purposes of backup stats, it's good to know where all the power-ups are. And you can see he's starting at the beginning. There are no checkpoints in World 8, so if you die, you have at the end of the stage like that, you have to replay the entire thing. He does get a chance to get this mushroom again, though.
Well, that's good. Something for nothing, I guess. But there is one thing I've been hearing about this, but someone has to explain this to me. I'm new to this whole commentating thing. What is the commentator's curse?
The commentator's curse is you say they're doing well, they do something bad. You say they haven't died yet, they die. That sort of thing. Oh, they're having really good luck, they get trolled. So that's the commentator's curse in a nutshell. But anyway, he slowed down at the very end there to avoid getting 6 fireworks. Looks like he's getting a fire flower. This is probably just to deal with the Hammer Brothers in this stage, because then he can just blitz through them like he is here. Also dealing with the piranhas becomes a little bit easier. Obviously just a safety strat because it's a marathon. Now, World 8-4, level 8-4 is appropriately enough the hardest level in the run. There are multiple really difficult tricks, and that Piranha Plant just doesn't exist. So don't mind the fact that he jumped into it and didn't get hit. That's how the game was programmed. He got this. Nice. He got the jump. That is frame and pixel perfect jump. And then he pans the screen over to change the location that that pipe led him to, so it takes him here, and that allows him to get into the water section really quick. Really smooth water section. He landed once, but he got past the fire bars really smoothly. That was almost ideal. It was really good. And time.
Wow.
That last part, he did very smooth. Very smooth.
Yeah, that was an excellent 8-4. It's also, you see he's fire. It's harder to get past those fire bars when you're big Mario than it is for an any percent run, which would be little Mario there. So that was really nice. Excellent way to end the run. Definitely a little bit of redemption after those 3 deaths over the course of the run. But yeah, very good.
All right, I just put in the chat here, the runners and the commentators. Make sure to give them some love, give them a follow, let them know that you're following here in America and that you're watching here in America. We're very privileged to be able to restream this here. We love working with these guys. So make sure to show them some love. Once again, Alec, Mr. Big T Anderson, thank you so much. Alec, very insightful on everything here. Mr. Big T, I hope that was a fun experience for you.